Welcome back. This is your Kinda Well, Kinda Toxic host, Sarah Rittendale, bringing you another episode of Wellish. I feel like I have had several interviews within the last few weeks with like all of these random new people, and I can't tell you how happy I am to be interviewing somebody that I've known since I was 5 years old. I think I'm so excited to pick your brain after not seeing you in literally it's like 7 years. So Corrin Hansen, welcome to Wellish. I'm so excited that you were here with me today. Tell me about your specific study of psychology.
When I went to grad school, I have an overall degree in just regular psychology, but when you go to a master's program, you have to pick. Like, you cannot just be like, oh, I want to study psychology. So I studied forensic psychology, and I specifically wanted to focus or had a concentration in sexual assault and domestic abuse.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So is that how you got involved in the romantic relationship part of it?
Yeah. So a big part of my thesis was kind of how we get there. How do domestic abuse happen? How does domestic violence happen? How does sexual assault happen? Because there's this stigma that like all of that happens from someone you don't really know, and that's not true. Mm-hmm. Most people are involved in domestic abuse relationships with people that they've known for years.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that a lot of the time it happens and people don't necessarily know that they're being abused?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think that too.
Especially like emotionally and mentally. I think it's really easy to say like, oh, domestic abuse or like toxic relationships are someone hitting you, but that is not at all the case.
So what do you think is the case? What do you think is most common?
So most people start off in a relationship, and you can't even say like, oh, they start off. No one willingly goes into a relationship and is like, that person's really toxic, I'm gonna date them.
Yeah, right.
You don't look at someone and be like, he's gonna abuse me.
He's gonna fuck me up.
He's gonna abuse me. I think I should date him for 5 years. Like, nobody in their right. Maybe actually someone
might, it's
like
a little fun. A little excitement in your life. But no, I know what you're saying, that obviously people aren't going to voluntarily get into these toxic relationships, so it's like they don't necessarily know.
It starts small.
Yeah. Oh.
It starts small. It's never like, it's not like he's just going to come at you and be like, fuck you, you're a stupid bitch.
Yeah, right.
It's going to be like little things like, oh, do you really want to wear that? Where are you going? And it starts off like little things. I got into this field because when I went to college at St. Leo, I was sexually assaulted by one of the lacrosse players on the team. And it became a really big part of my life and who I was. And I needed a way to understand it.
Interesting. When you say it became a big part of who you were, what does that mean? What does that look like?
It happened like in the beginning of my sophomore year of school. So it kind of defined everything going forward for me. It defined all of my friendships. I found myself in a very toxic friendship with my roommates, with other people I knew. I felt very isolated, and I knew that the only way to get out of this was to dive headfirst in and understand it.
Okay.
So it just became something that became so important to me because the more I learned about it and just my own free time and like researching it and all that kind of stuff, I knew I needed to talk about it.
Do you think that helped you heal, or do you think it made it worse?
I think in the beginning it was so helpful for me. Like, I transferred to a different school. I joined a sorority, and I ended up being like the Title IX person, which a Title IX is like basically when you go through an assault through a school, you go through a Title IX process. I ended up working in that office. I ended up being like the Greek officer, whatever, for that in my sorority, and like getting to talk to all of my sorority sisters about like what sexual assault is or like what domestic abuse is, because the person who assaulted me was not someone I was dating. We were just friends, and we ended up, because of the assault, being in a very abusive and toxic relationship after, because we went to a small school. And so we tried to keep it under wraps, but like there was a lot of abuse going on behind closed doors while I was in another relationship. So like it's a very...
Wait, I'm sorry. So he sexually assaulted you and then you dated him?
We never actually dated.
So it was like a situationship situation.
Like I was dating my ex while this happened.
Oh.
But the kid who assaulted me was someone who we were really, really good friends. And after it, he wanted me to keep quiet. So it became a very toxic relationship of him saying, like, oh, he loved me and that's why he did this to me.
So he knew what he did was wrong.
The whole time.
Wow.
The entire time. And then it never stopped. It wasn't like one assault. Because then he realized that after that, he had a lot of power and control over me.
Yeah.
More of like, I'm scared of you. So he would continuously do it, and I wouldn't say anything about it, and I would just let it happen because he would threaten like my friends or like my ex, and I just didn't want them to be involved.
And I feel like it's so easy to feel like you are also at fault, like that you're putting yourself in these situations. You're continuing, not that you're at any way fault, but like that you're there. You were friends with him, whatever.
100%. It's so easy to blame yourself.
Yes, right, absolutely.
And it's easier to almost blame yourself than to blame the person who did it to you, because it's easier for someone to be angry with themselves.
Do you think that, I know you've done some of your studying in fitting in, how does that kind of play a role here? Do you think fitting in and like wanting to have friends or wanting to be in this relationship had anything to do with that?
I think that after it happened, I wanted to fit in so bad, and I didn't want to stand out, and I always felt like after, like an outcast.
Interesting.
Which is so weird, because looking back on it now, I'm like not an outcast in that. There was probably so many other girls that were dealing with what I was dealing with behind closed doors, so I probably fit in a lot more than I ever realized, but I just felt so like isolated, and like I wanted to fit in.
Yeah. What has been your relationship with fitting in? Are you typically good at it? Do you, like, what does that look like for you?
I feel like I've never been one that like wanted to fit in, like in the sense, until I got older. Like in high school, I really didn't care.
Interesting.
I was friends with the right people or the popular people. I was obviously cheerleading. I feel like that makes people feel like, oh, like I'm with the right people, like I'm with the popular people, but I didn't care. So like I feel like once something like that happened, I was like, I don't want to be different. Like I don't want to stand out in any way. I want to fit the mold of a typical college student.
Interesting. Okay. So when you think about a time now later that you do care a little bit more, why aren't you fitting in?
Because I'm so willing to talk about things that make people uncomfortable.
So you think that makes you not fit in?
Yeah.
So that means that I don't fit in?
Yeah. I think you don't fit in when you have a voice that people don't want to hear.
Interesting. And why don't you think people want to hear it?
Because a lot of times, at least for me personally, I will tell you something, I'm like too honest. Like I know it, and it's really bad. I try and be nicer about it, but like
yeah, no, 100% I'm that way.
But like at the same time, I just feel like nobody wants to hear about how uncomfortable rape is.
Interesting.
Nobody wants to hear about how most relationships you have in your 20s are toxic.
Yeah.
People don't want to hear that.
Why?
Because they have to look at their own lives.
Yeah, because it definitely is so much more common, you think, than you realize.
Yeah.
I hope there's dog noises this whole time. Something that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought from when we were talking on Instagram, your perception of fitting in is a normal thing to try to do. So figuring out this idea that it's totally normal that we try to fit in.
It's so
and there's
normal.
nothing wrong with it. And I feel like people try to say that there's something wrong with trying to fit in.
Definitely, it's normal. Everyone goes through a phase. Usually for girls happens in like high school or college, that you just want to fit in. You want to be liked. Especially, I feel like you will see the most in like everyone your first semester of college. I don't know if you felt this, but me and my friends, or like people I knew in college my freshman year, everyone and their mother was putting on their best front the first semester of college. Like everyone wanted to be friends with everyone. Everyone was inviting you to things. But the second semester hits, everybody's true colors come out.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The longer you get to know people, that it's like, oh, you're
and
like, oh.
It was like so weird though, because everyone was trying so hard to fit in, and then it's just like after winter break, boom, like no one. It's just like, wow.
Yeah, right. Well, I think what's interesting about the concept is that obviously we want to be around like-minded people, like human connection, sense of belonging. Those are like core needs that we have. So do you think then that we should not be trying to like fight it essentially? Like we should allow ourselves to fit in?
I think that you should allow yourself to fit in to an extent. Like, you don't need to try so hard to fit in. You're gonna fit in with the right people, and I think that's the idea, is that you should fit in with the right people, not fit in because you like want to be a part of a group that you think is right for you.
Yeah,
completely. You'll always fit in with the right people.
I agree. I feel like, obviously, I think the key thing to be aware of is when you start to not feel it come naturally to you, when you start to not be choosing to fit in. I feel like when you're around people and you are like, okay, like, I like fitting in here because I like them, we think the same ways, but instead of losing your sense of self.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to fit in.
Yeah, like, totally. If you think about it, so, like, obviously we've known each other for a really long time, so we know, like, a ton of the same people, but I feel like there was a part of, like, there was, like, one or two specific people that, like, were the ringleaders while we were in, like, middle school, high school.
Oh, God, yeah.
And everyone wanted to be so much like them, and so, like, we would do anything and everything to be like them. So, like, literally, like, specifically, like, 8th grade, when we were doing, like, EGYF cheer, and we had to go TPing. And one specific ringleader was like, we all have to wear pink yoga pants, like the ones that, like,
oh my God, yeah,
we all have to, and we all have to make these shirts and wear the same.
Are you
thing.
talking about, like, the red tie-dye-ish shirts that we drew EGYF on? That's awesome.
Yes, those, and, like, we all had to do our hair the same way, and I was like, what, like, that was when I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, right.
Because I remember going to the mall with my mom and telling my mom I wanted these yoga pants that were like $50.
I was just gonna say that, and suddenly you're dropping all of this money to try to fit in.
And my mom was like, "You're literally 13. Like, why am I buying you this?" And I was like, "Because, like, I have to. Like,
there's actually no other option, Mom.
There's, like, I have to fit in."
And that's true, because if you didn't have the yoga pants or the shirt or the hair,
they were not gonna.
And you are, like, physically, you see in real life the odd one out. And they would be like, oh, look at Corrin.
I also feel like you definitely had a different experience with this because you are blonde. But, like, I'm not blonde. And I cannot be blonde. Like, it's never going to happen. But I just remember, like, everyone started dyeing their hair blonde. I was like, I don't fit in here.
Really?
Like, I don't fit in here.
Shut up. When?
Like, just in high school. But, like, coming to Florida for school, everyone goes blonde. Everyone. And I'm like, I can't. Like, I can't. I tried to balayage my hair. No, I looked ridiculous. I am not blonde.
You do look good with the dark hair, for sure.
It fits me. But, like, I was like, I gotta be blonde. I gotta be blonde. It's like, I have, like, 10 blonde friends, and they all look the same. I'm like, I don't fit in here.
That is such an interesting point. I feel like there's a blonde complex. I don't know what it is, but I had a friend in college that was like, I hated you specifically because you have blonde hair. And I was like, I was born like that. I don't know.
Yeah, like, you never had to feel this struggle. Like, I just was like, you didn't have to go and be like, should I dye my hair blonde? And it would take me forever to dye it. It would probably take me like 2 years to dye it blonde. I feel like it started so young, and you don't even think about, like, because obviously you're not a brunette. But, like, so young, you're like, I gotta be blonde to, like, be popular and pretty.
So
which is so weird because, like, some of the prettiest people, like, we know are not always blonde.
No, I agree.
And it does not, I just feel like it's so weird because the concept starts when you're so young, like, oh, to fit in, I gotta be, like, the blonde cheerleader. No offense.
She's like, I'm actually annihilating you.
Actually, just like, don't.
What's interesting about you saying that is more so that that's just not at all how I felt. Like, you're saying, like, oh, I have to be the blonde cheerleader, and me, the blonde cheerleader, was like, I hate everything about me, so I don't feel like I fit in any way.
It's so funny because it's, like, so weird because you lived, like, the opposite of it.
Yeah. Right.
But
it's like, okay, so then I am the blonde cheerleader, but I feel the same exact way as you.
You're like, I need to dye my hair brown immediately.
Literally. Dude,
yesterday.
Everybody that I think is pretty, like Megan Fox, like everybody that I would, like, emulate, like, I would love to be, like, dark hair, blue eyes. I would love that. Like, sometimes.
I wish I had blue eyes, but, like, I have these dark brown eyes.
Oh my God. Suddenly we're annihilating, like, our entire, like, what we look like.
We fit in now.
We fit in now with ourselves. I feel like sometimes trying so hard to fit in can be the same as trying really hard to stand out. Like, it is this same.
I feel like because there's this idea that to stand out, you have to, like, literally stand out. Like,
yeah.
To, like, just prime example, like, if I was still on the cheerleading team, to stand out, I would have to come with, like, funky hair and like all this makeup and like be like this standout person when I could stand out while still you can stand out and still fit in, and I feel like that's the controversial.
Absolutely. I agree with you that it's like an over it's I feel like people think of standing out as an over the top thing that you have to like do all the things, or even like if it's not what you look like, even if you're not the people that are like dyeing your hair. Not that that means anything. There's nothing wrong with dyeing your hair different colors, but I just mean like doing these outlandish things. But I also think that it just comes in like last night when we went out, we're in this group of people. You can try to stand out in those situations by being like, oh my god, look at me do this, and like climb a fucking ladder or up a wall.
Pick me.
Yeah, yes, pick me girls. Yes, exactly.
Pick me girls and the ick of pick me boys.
How can we effectively stand out, do you think? What's a good way to actually go about that?
Finding the right people. I feel like it always comes down to finding the right people, because in the right people, or like with the right group of people, you're going to fit in with them and still stand on your own and still stand out. And the controversial comes down to you can stand out while you're fitting in with people, because those people are still going to support you for your opinions and your beliefs that might be different than theirs.
Yeah.
And it's healthy and it's not toxic. It's not you standing out and like having like this controversial opinion just so you can stand out and have the attention. It's, hey, there's things about me that are different than you guys, but like you still love and care about me and I still love and care about you, and there's the respect level there and we still fit in together, but I'm standing out on this.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I think that's also just like becoming of age. That
Okay.
sounds so weird. Becoming of age. Like, we're not going to like coronation, but like at a certain point you know who you are.
Yeah.
And I feel like in high school and college, and even honestly, realistically, like post grad 25, I don't always know exactly who I am, but I feel like I have a better idea than when I was like 18.
Sure.
But like once you kind of figure out who you are as a person and love who you are as a person, it's so much easier to fit in and stand out at the same time, because there's so many ways you can make fitting in toxic and standing out toxic. So you just have to figure out the balance for you. And it's going to look different for me than it is for you. And it's going to look different for you than it is for your sister and my sister. And it's going to be different for everybody.
So is that how you would say you can stand out while fitting in, is just finding that right group of people?
100%. I think that there's this like idea that, oh, like I'll be alone and I'll figure it out. And like I'll find myself and I'll be alone and I'll do it by myself. And it's this whole idea that like independence. But if you really think about it, it literally takes a village to do anything. And it's going to come down to having the right village, and it's going to take a lot, and sometimes you're going to have to kick people out of the village that you want to be in the village, but like you can't do it alone. This life is hard and you need people, and you need to find yourself with your people, and you're going to stand out and you're going to fit in, and there's going to be ups and downs of it all, but it doesn't have to be a straight line this or that.
Yeah. That's so true. I feel like I totally agree that like me personally for sure, but I know that it's more than just me that feels this way, has always had a complex with the independence thing, that I'm like, if I don't do it by myself, I'm a failure.
Literally, I feel like I'm so independent. Like that's
same.
I'm so independent. It's why I wanted to go so far away from school. Like,
yeah,
I remember being like, I'm going away to school because I need to just do this by myself and be by myself and alone. But it turned out to be absolutely untrue. I came down to Florida. I didn't really know anyone. I was in school. I was like a little tiny, I'm tiny still, but little tiny 18-year-old going to college. And it literally took a village. Like, it's the weirdest thing ever, because everyone I went to school with my first college was like from out of state. Like, none of us really knew each other. So it literally took a village for all of us to understand like who we were and growing up. And like I was like, wow, like I went all of high school thinking I had to like do everything alone, to coming to college and like literally being like, well, obviously everyone in college, like, you're scared to eat in the dining hall by yourself.
Yes, amen.
But it's just like this whole idea that like you're gonna find yourself with the right people.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna figure out who you are and what you want and all those things, and like it's not gonna be the way it always has, because you need people. It's just this idea that like one day, I guess for me, I woke up and I was like, I can't do this alone. And I don't know if it's what I went through or like the relationships I was holding, but like I was like, I need to just like purge these relationships, and I need to have relationships, both friendship and whoever date wise, romantic wise, I date, that are like fulfilling and real and not surface level.
So, talking about relationships then, why do you think people settle for love that they don't deserve?
From a professional standpoint, everyone wants to be loved.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, it's human nature. Unless you're a sociopath, then can't feel love. Everyone wants to feel love, so you're gonna settle for whatever love is right in front of you. And it's also, in like the weirdest way, you're settling for a love that you would give yourself.
Oh my god, yeah.
You're settling for a love that it's like you're settling for the love that you think you deserve, and you hear it from your friends all the time. Like, why are you settling for this? Why are you settling for this? Because subconsciously you think that's all you deserve.
Yeah.
You don't think you deserve more than that because you're still beating yourself up for things that you've done in your past that are not right, or like mistakes you've made. So you're like, okay, this is like where I'm at, this is what I deserve.
Yeah.
So you're so willing to be like, okay, this is a little toxic, but I'll stay.
I also think that you don't have any concept of what better is in the relationship, but then also because of exactly what you're saying, that's all you do to yourself. And potentially the only concept of real, true, unconditional love would be from your parents, and that's if they gave that to you. So it's like, then that obviously gets into like parent issues and all of that kind of stuff.
But I think it's also the idea that when we're in our 20s, it's the first time we really realize that people don't have, like, I feel like I kind of knew this, but like, I didn't know everyone had different relationships with their parents. And so like, I know like everyone has different like households growing up, but it's just the idea that like, you have no idea how someone learned how to love, and we all learned how to love differently. Every single one of us learned how to love differently, even if we came from similar households, just by our personalities matching with our parents' personalities, or like the relationships we have with our siblings. So like, obviously you grew up with a mom and dad, a sister, and I grew up with a mom and a dad, a sister, but we probably love differently because of our personalities being different.
That is so fucking bizarre. And again, I feel so grateful right now to be interviewing you because I have known you for so long. We lived in the same neighborhood, same style house, the same economic status, like the same exact thing. But it would be so different. And it's like subtleties, like personalities that go, your outlooks on life, their perceptions, like that would change how you love people.
And then it also comes down to like, we grew up very similarly, but we did have separate friends. So like friendships you had and friendships you held with those, you learn how to love people based on like your friendships when you're little, and no one like really correlates that to when you get older. Like the friendships you start creating when you're like in kindergarten, when it's super easy to make friends because everybody wants to make friends. You're essentially learning how to like love people outside of your house, outside of the people that you live with, and then you're gonna start seeing how their love styles or their attachment styles, which is a big thing, like attachment styles.
I was gonna ask you about that.
Attachment styles and all of that, like that's gonna play a part in those relationships you continue to form and continue to form and continue to form. And so like when we're in high school, that's when we kind of are actually on our, like, we're able to think on our own, be on our own. Like 16 years old, you think about your first like relationship and like how it's like you're gonna stay no matter how sucky it gets.
Yeah.
And like from personal experience, like I don't really care. I hope he listens to this. Him and I have sat down as adults and talked about like why it was toxic for us.
Have you really? Why?
Because I don't know. He like one day reached out and was like, I need to talk to you about like us. And I was like, okay, what's up? And he was like, can I call you? And I was like, sure, whatever, I'm not busy. And then we like actually talked about like what he was going through and how he grew up and like why he was the way he was with me, and like how, because I like loved him correctly in his form, like I guess I wouldn't say I loved him correctly, I definitely was my fair share of toxic, but he was like, you loved me right, and now I can love the person that I'm with now better because you taught me how to love.
Interesting.
And I was like, oh, so like a foster home.
You're like, so I just trained you to be better for the next person.
Literally, that's how I feel. And I'm like low-key so offended because they're like in this happy relationship together and like about to get married, and I was like, that was my 16-year-old dream, so fuck you, but it's okay. Like I stayed through a lot of toxic for that girl, and like at first I was really angry about it, but I was like, wait, no, like I'm so happy for that girl that she did not have to do what I had to go through.
Interesting. I feel like if anybody's qualified to talk about shitty situations, shitty relationships, you're my girl, man. What has been your experience with toxic relationships? Like, how many of those have you been in? I feel like a lot. No
Honestly,
offense.
no, I really truly feel like I've been in so many more than I should because I have a degree and I know that it's toxic.
Okay, dude, I swear, like, I feel like being more aware makes me
But
attract him.
wait, but I'm like, I know you're toxic. Like, I know what we're doing is toxic. Like, this kid that I'm talking to now, he does things. I'm like, that was like, I think you're gaslighting me, but I know it.
Yes.
And I'm like, wait, we need to take a step back because now we're like working on these healthy relationship boundaries. But like, before I'd be like, wow, did you just gaslight me? Should I gaslight you back? Like, I'm aware of what's happening. But yes, I do have a fair share of toxic relationships, and I will say a big part of that was because in the 6th grade, lovely 6th grade, maybe 7th grade, I met this boy, and I was like head over heels,
Fuck that guy. I know exactly what you're fucking talking about.
Head over heels for him, and he was so toxic.
Oh my god.
And it was toxic for everyone around me because
Yes.
we were so toxic.
Yes.
And we could not break the cycle.
Mm-hmm.
But then finally, when I was like, I'm done with this, and I met someone new that I like caught my eye, it also was toxic.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a little different.
Yeah.
And then after that, I like found myself in like, I was toxic. Like, I will admit I was a red flag. I am like, if you ask
She's
my
like,
friends,
I was a walking red flag.
if you ask my friends, sometime in college, Corrin, walking red flag.
I heard your friend last night say that she was like, Corrin, toxic? Absolutely. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm so excited to interview the shit out of you.
Oh my god, yeah, no, yeah. Like, I am a red flag. And then I met like my ultimate green flag, and he was a walking red flag in college, and so now we're trying to be green flags for each other, type of thing. But like, I will be the first to admit that, like, yes, I have a degree in psychology and like I focus on this kind of stuff, but I did my fair share of toxic.
Mm-hmm. Is there a commonality between the toxic guys that you date?
Oh, 100%.
What is that trait?
Daddy issues.
Oh my god, really?
Daddy issues.
Really? Like that they have daddy issues?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I am a fixer.
Fucking same.
I am a fixer, and I see them, and I'm like, I'm gonna fix you. I'm gonna fix you. You don't want to be fixed, but I'm gonna fix you. And then I do, and then I'm like, well,
Now I'm bored.
this is not fun anymore.
Yeah. That's me. That's awesome.
I'm like, I've had it. Like, like, no, literally every person I've dated has daddy issues.
And what does that look like? Like, what are some
And they're all a little different. Like, with
Okay.
their daddy issues, like, obviously my first boyfriend was a little psycho. But he just had a lot of issues. Like, he had probably mommy and daddy issues.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, he did not know how to love someone at all from a man's point of view because his dad walked out.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second guy, his dad didn't walk out, but his dad was never present.
Yeah.
Like, he was physically there, but he was not a dad. And so all these guys are chasing the idea, how do you be a man and love someone?
Interesting.
And then, like, my most recent ex, he's got his own set of issues. But, like, his parents were very present, and, like, we grew up very similar. But, like, he definitely has, like, he grew up in this mindset that he is, like, the top fish. Like, he went to a very small high school. He was the youngest, and he's like, his family's like pride and joy. So he did not know how to like take the God complex down. And so like meeting me, I'm like, here's my God complex, let's play.
Yeah.
Like, but it was like, it's a fixing issue. Like, I just like, I'm gonna fix you.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna fix everything.
Have you broken that pattern?
I want to say yes, but I don't want to give myself that much credit because I definitely like still would. I could see that there's still like toxic things that I catch myself doing them, and I like text my one friend and I'm like, is this toxic to say?
At least you like are
I'm like
looking for
I'm
feedback.
trying to like, I'm like, should I have not said that? Or like with my friend from last night that you met, she's like, Karen, we can't say that. That's like really toxic. I'm like,
Oh.
I would have said that.
Yeah, literally. So what are those things? Like, what is that pattern that you have?
I have a pattern where play the game or the game plays you.
Fucking, it's true though.
But like, if you like, I'm like someone who like, if you even think about crossing me, I'm gonna cross you 10 times over, and you're gonna hate me for the rest of your life. Because I don't know. I think because I have the education level I do, and I love my therapist, it's because I am scared of getting hurt. So like, I have to be toxic. so that I'm not hurt and they're hurt.
That's awesome. I like how you're literally cringing as you say
So
that.
it sounds so bad out loud, but like I say it in my head all the time. I'm like, oh, just being toxic.
What? Well, and it's the truth. I mean, that is what you're doing. Is trying to prevent yourself. You're protecting yourself.
Yeah.
In a way.
I think because my relationships that were really toxic, like the first couple, I really did love them. Mm-hmm. And they really did hurt to like leave or walk away from. And like I know it was for the best, but like it didn't take away like, wow, there's a lot of damage there. And there was one point in my like college career, mid relationship with this kid that I was with, that I was like, I need to go to therapy. Like, I need to talk to someone.
So is that, like, what did it take to identify the pattern?
So after my whole thing and why I transferred and all of that relationship, I desperately needed some therapy. Mm-hmm. Like, desperately. Even, like, against my will, like, my parents dropped me off and, like, made me go.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, like, I was like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. And everyone's like, you're not fine.
That's awesome.
Like, I needed, like, an exorcism, but, like...
Stop.
So I went, and then I did not want to talk. I remember sitting in therapy, and I feel like it's just, like, so people don't want to talk about therapy because people think like you have to be an absolute nutbag to go to therapy, and that's not true.
No.
I mean, my circumstances when I started, yes, I was probably a nutso, but I remember sitting there and being like, I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to talk. Or I'm just going to give her the bare minimum. I'm not going to tell her anything. And then one day I just like was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to tell you the whole truth. You don't really know me. I don't really know you. If I hate it, I don't have to pay to come back to see you.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And I just like, and then she was like, how do you feel? And I was like, honestly, relieved.
Really?
Like, it was like an hour. And I was like, she's like, I just talked for like an hour straight.
Interesting.
About everything that I felt and like the relationships. And I'm like super self-aware. I have been forever. Not just, I think my degree makes it 10 times worse. But
I'm the same way.
I'm so self-aware. So like I knew I was in toxic relationships. I just didn't want to give them up. Yeah. Because I thought in my head, especially at like 16, 17, like it's just a phase. Like they're going to get out of it. We're going to be happy. Like it's just a phase. It's just a phase. And I just kept telling myself that in every relationship that I got in. Oh, it's just a phase. Like we're 22. We're supposed to do this. Or like we're 21. We're supposed to do this. Type of thing. Like, oh, it's just where we're at. But like it's not. No. Right. It's not.
It still doesn't make it okay. I mean, you can say that in the respect of it's like okay that you're going through it and it happened and we're gonna work through it because we're young and we got to figure these things out, but it totally takes over the way you perceive future situations.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And it's easy to also think like in my therapy session where I was just like, here, this is my life, I realized that a lot of my toxic relationships did not start like romantically. They were like friendships that I would just push off and be like, oh, we're not that good of friends. Like, it's fine. It's fine she did that. Like, there's, like, boundaries that were crossed from, like, friend perspective that I was like, whatever. Like, they're my friends. I've known them my whole life. And, like, it really hit me when I was in college and I was away from everybody from our high school and our, like, town that I was like, wow, like, or any of my friendships healthy? And it was, like, the reality that, like, I've known some of my friends my whole life and they were so toxic for me.
Yeah, for sure.
And, like, obviously now, like, we're good. We've worked through a lot of our things, but, like, there was a point in time that I was like, I have to cut you guys off. Yeah. Like, I have to be done.
For sure.
And I just have to move on from these relationships because I'm settling for friendships that I don't really want to be in because I don't want to not have friends or that I've known you for so long.
Yeah. Just because they were in your life because you guys happened to go to the same school together or happened to be on the same cheer team or happened to be in the same church or the same area doesn't mean that you're meant to be friends forever.
And I think it's the idea that I like want to hold on to people because I'm a fixer. I never want people to feel alone or like that they don't have anyone because I've definitely been in a place where I feel like I absolutely have no one and I didn't know where to turn, so I don't want to do that to people. But like there was just a point where I was just like I can't do these friendships. Like I don't have the same values as you. I don't have the same like priorities as you. Like we're just different. And I love you so much. But like I'm gonna cheer you on from over here.
I think that something powerful that you said that kind of rings true here is how you don't want to kick people out of the village, but sometimes you got to kick people out of the fucking village.
Sometimes you got to like be a cheerleader from afar.
Yeah.
Like from Florida to Illinois, like see you guys watching their lives in like pictures, which was also really weird for me because I was like, I'm not even their friend. Like, I don't.
You don't talk. You don't do anything.
But, like, when I'm home, we're friends.
Yeah.
Type of thing. And I was like, I hate this. Like, I hated coming home from college and being like, I have to fake be friends with people for 3 months.
God, I agree.
And, like, I was just like, at some point, I was like, I'm just not going to come home.
Mm-hmm. The attachment styles. I don't know why. I know that's so important. It's so talked about.
You need to get a book. You need to get the book called Attached, and it has like a magnet on it.
Okay, done. But so attachment styles, what are they? I don't know why. Like my brain doesn't.
Okay, so the thing about attachment styles is that people are like, oh, I have this. You have multiple attachment styles. Like, don't pretend like you just have one. You're not special.
Oh my god, duh.
It's usually like a combination. Like you can't just like. It's always going to be like a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
I think that's why I never really look into it, or it irritates me when I try to look into it and I shove it under the rug because I'm like, I don't necessarily identify with any one of these.
So, as an adult, you should have 4.
Yeah.
Or there is 4, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Anxious, avoidant, disorganized, and secure. There's like 1 out of a billion people that are probably secure attachment styles at our age.
What does a secure attachment style look like? Like, is that the healthiest one?
Like what it means. What
Gold star, 10 out of 10, you win.
You're secured attachment from like a childhood to adult relationship. Like you just are secure.
Fuck that person.
And then obviously most adults our age are gonna have anxious and avoidant attachment styles. Honestly, I can't really give you much on disorganized. I know it's like fear related,
sure,
but I've never really looked that much into it just because anxious and avoidant are the top ones, and it's why people stay in toxic relationships.
Okay.
Or it's why like you ever like not hear from someone and you just want to text them and you just want like you're like, and then you start freaking out. You're like, oh my god, they don't like me anymore. Especially when you're like dating someone, you're like, they hate me. They hate me.
Yeah.
So, like 5 minutes, they hate me.
Yep.
And
what I do wrong?
So anxious, and you're like going through the like what the heck, like why is this happening? They like, and you're running through all these. It's because you're attached in an anxious way. This person is probably not doing anything against you. They're probably just busy. They're probably taking a shit. Like,
or they don't like you. They're not that into you, and you need to not fucking freak out about it.
Yeah.
Right? Is that the same concept?
I mean, yeah. Yes and no.
Okay.
I feel like there's a different type. You'll get like, I feel like with anxiety at least, you feel it different.
Yeah.
You know when someone doesn't like you.
You know what? Thank you for validating me.
You know.
It's an intuition thing.
Like you know when you're annoying someone.
Yeah, for sure.
But like I catch myself doing it now, like with this kid that I know he likes me. Like I know he likes me. But sometimes he's busy and I'm busy because we are adults and we have a life. But people are so used to our generation, we can be in constant contact with people all the time. And it's so unhealthy because it makes us anxious when we can't get in contact with them. Or like you're on Instagram, you see their little light, their little green light that they're on, and they're not answering you, so you're like...
But you have time to scroll on Instagram. Okay.
But people don't realize that, like, you can mindless scroll.
Yeah.
It takes a minute to, like, talk to people.
Right.
And, like, you have to think, like, not everyone has the space for it.
Yeah.
Like, my favorite thing to tell people, like, is, like, do you have the space for this? Like, when you're talking to someone and you want to talk about something deep or, like, vent, ask them, do you have the space for this today?
Yeah. Ugh. So what is your typical response when you say that?
Typically, like, if I have to say it, I'm like, hey, like, do you have space for this today? Like, I need to talk. And if they say no, okay.
So people do say no.
People can say no. I mean, it's people definitely, like, the people closer to you are going to say no versus the people that you're, like, still
That's a good point. That obviously you're probably talking to somebody that you've developed a good relationship with.
Yeah, like, specifically, like, Camille.
Okay.
I'll be like, hey, do you have space for this? And she's like, no, but I can tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Or, hey, I have this going on. Can we catch up in a week?
That's fucking awesome.
It's just learning that, like, not everyone has the space for what you have the space for. It's already made space in you. Yeah. So, like, it's not them being, like, mean or anything.
Yeah.
But, like, that's like a secure, like, I have a secure relationship with Camille. Like, it's secure. But, like, anxious, like, I would just get anxious, like, if people don't answer me right away and I'm like, they hate me.
Yeah.
They hate me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they don't hate me. Or avoidant attachment styles, it literally means you're avoiding it. You fear it.
Oh. Why, when I have this conversation with you, does it sound so much more fucking simple than when I read a cute little slide on Instagram?
Because you know me.
I guess. I don't know. I think you're explaining it really well. I think it's you. I think that, I don't know why.
Because it's different to talk about something than to read something.
Yeah, I just feel like if you, like, that's totally true. So anxious attachment is just you are attached in an anxious way. You're avoidant in, or you're attached in an avoiding way. I guess that one kind of fucking confuses me because attached and avoid sound like opposites.
Yeah. But, like, it's like attachment. The way I would explain it, the way I've been explained it too, is that it's like when you're really, really attached to someone that's toxic for you and you don't want to leave because you're anxious about it. Like, you don't want to leave someone because there's an attachment, so you're avoiding it. You're avoiding the problem. You're not going to talk about something that bothers you with them. Like, you can't be like, hey, you did this to me and it bothers me.
Yeah.
Because you're avoiding it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Because there's this fear in the back of your head that if you bring it up, they're going to leave.
Yeah.
So a lot of attachment styles stem down to, do you think they're going to leave?
Huh.
And it's like, it's very normal for people to think that.
The disorganized one is kind of interesting too, and this is just me using context clues since I don't know anything about it, and you said you couldn't give too much of an explanation. But the disorganized, again, using that same sentence, being attached in a disorganized way, I could see how that could be fear. Like, I could see how that could be like...
Well, there's fear in not knowing and being unorganized.
Exactly, right.
And I think it's the idea that you can have an avoidant and an anxious attachment style with one person, but you could also, like, I could have, say, an avoidant attachment style with you and an anxious one with Finn. Mm-hmm. And it can change based on who you're with. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be like every relationship you have is this one thing.
Yeah. I also think it's situational. Like, okay, so let's paint a cute little relationship. So, not cute little, toxic as fuck relationship. And he will not really text you, blows you off, isn't giving you the attention or energy that you're looking for. There's no effort. So you're anxiously like, why isn't he answering me? Why isn't he doing that?
Usually that would have stemmed because he love bombed you at the beginning.
So now we're getting into narcissism.
Yeah, 100%. That's what toxic relationships stem from. But the way you'd feel anxious is because the relationship, when it started out, obviously you're not like, he's gonna fuck me up. Like, you're just not, like, it starts really good and he gives you so much affection from the start, and he's texting you all the time, he's calling you all the time, he wants to see you all the time, and then all of a sudden it just stops.
Yeah.
So then your anxiety of the situation is like, what'd I do wrong?
Yeah.
You're immediately looking to fix.
But so then it turns into avoidant when you don't confront him about that?
Yeah. In a sense. I feel like there's also a way where you're avoiding, like, you're tiptoeing around it. Mm. You might be bringing it up, but you're not just like, why'd you love bomb me? Like,
yeah.
I mean, no one would really.
But even just saying, like, why aren't you answering me? Or, like, because I can picture being in, like, situationships. Like, in a relationship, I might say something. But, like, in a situationship sort of deal, like, I, in a million years, would never be like, so I just want to talk about it. You would?
I wake up every day and I choose violence. Like, I wake up with fucking questions.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I'm no one's peace. Mm-hmm. 100%. So that's just, like, my personality thing. Like, literally my situationship, I, like, will ask him a million questions. He's like, do you have any more? Like, do you want to add another billion to that? And I'm like, yeah, actually I do.
I feel like a lot of when you talk about your toxic traits, a lot of them I feel like do come back to physical appearance. What do you think that's about?
I think I really struggled in high school.
Really?
With what I looked like. And I think a big part of my toxic relationship with my ex, my first one, was that he really liked me for that reason. And so it became something that was so important to me. And I, like, remember really, really, really struggling with it.
I can totally picture, too, how that you would so identify with that. You would so be like, well, this, like, especially if you're struggling with other things internally in school and you're like, okay, but I got this. Like, at least I know that I have a bod.
At least I am a 10 out of 10 there.
Yeah, right. So it's like, then you're like, well, I'm going to use that to my advantage.
And it definitely became a toxic thing for me because I'm like, I'm hot.
Mm-hmm. And that also is why you probably analyze other people, like going back to, like, the blonde hair conversation, that you're like, okay, I'm hot, but what could I do to be hotter? Like, what could I do to
Like,
be
what
better?
can I do to be noticed?
Yeah, right.
But then in Florida, I will say, when I started here, everyone's in the gym. Like, obviously it's good to be in the gym, but like when I first got here, I was like, wow, I need to be like working out, and I really struggled with like the food aspect of things because you have to be in shape year round. There is no winter.
Right.
People are at the beach on Christmas. Like,
I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
You're not.
There is no hoodie season.
Yeah, like maybe one day a year.
Yeah.
And we really all love it.
Yeah.
And there's just so many like fit, pretty people. Like, people move to Florida and they're like the fitness influencers. So it really is an adjustment. And it's like realizing that a lot of toxicity comes from like yourself. Like, if I wasn't toxic, I probably wouldn't have toxic relationships.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it's just like, it's the idea of fitting in. I wanted to fit in. So I wanted to keep up with, like, everyone has a nice butt for the most part when you're 16. You don't have to work out. You don't have to do anything.
No,
you
don't have to try for it.
But then one day you wake up and your metabolism hates you.
That's me currently. That's what I'm going through right now. I've always been tiny, as you can testify to. When I was in high school, 2x4. And so then I was like, all right, college, I have to start working out so that I can have a butt, so that I can, because I can't grow my boobs.
And then it also became like the influencers, like, you have to have an ass.
Yeah.
But then you need the flat abs, and I'm like,
yeah,
I can't.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. And so I feel like that's kind of where I'm having an issue currently, is that I feel like now I do have, like how you were talking about eating, I do have to change my eating habits now. Before, I could just eat Taco Bell all the time and get drunk all the time, and then you didn't know, like, it wouldn't matter. And now I'm like, wait, I actually am putting on weight. So, like,
it's just so weird. Like, 25 is so weird.
It is so weird. 25 low-key is really fucking me up. I really feel like
You've been 25 for a month,
and I'm fucked up about it. And I'm fucked up about it.
I've been 25 for
September,
9 months, 10 months, yeah. And I'm telling you, it's not a fun show over here.
Do you set intentional time aside to take care of yourself?
100%. There was a time, I guess, when I was in this like toxic sexual assault, domestic abuse relationship with this kid, I took no time for myself. And then the year after, I took no time for myself because the time for myself was just, the time I was allotting for myself was spreading awareness about what sexual assault was, and it wasn't ever taking care of me. And then most recently, my last relationship, there was a lot of mental health issues on his side, so my whole life was dedicated to making sure he was okay. And I was not even doing something as simple as like getting a haircut or doing anything for me, because my whole life was wake up, take care of the dogs, go to work, go to school, make sure he's going to the doctor, make sure he's doing what he needs, all of these things. Like, I took on the role of like mother, therapist, friend, best friend, enemy, like insurance claim, like anything that I could take on, and nothing was for me. So when I turned 25, I was like, no, we're not doing this anymore. Like, 25 is for me. And that is why I feel like it's been the most like stressful year of my life, because I'm trying to take like my 20s and be selfish, the way people say like you're 20 something, be selfish.
So what does that look like? What do you do?
I prioritize going to the gym in a different way. I used to prioritize going to the gym and like heavy lifting all the time, and I used to very obsessively track my calories, and I called that self-care. Now I do what feels right. Sometimes that's lifting, sometimes that's Pilates, sometimes that's a spin class, sometimes that's just a walk with my dog. I prioritize like getting the exercise and moving my body in, but I don't focus on like you have to do this on this schedule. You have to wake up at 4 a.m. and go to the gym for 2 hours, and like you can't eat the candy bar, or you can't go get ice cream with your friends. But now it's like, okay, I'm gonna get ice cream with my friends. Like, one ice cream is not gonna kill me.
Oh my God, that just made me take a deep breath. That's so true. I feel like that was my thing when I was really into fitness and I was training and doing a lot of that, is trying to keep up with this like regimented, and I do that not just like for exercise, I do that with a lot of things in my life, that I'm just like, all right, well, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do it until I die. If I don't stick to this regimented schedule, then all hell is gonna break loose. Yes, exactly. And so I think that's such a good way to look at it. Is I like how you said too about the tracking the calories and calling that self-care. It's like you have to be careful not to lean into the toxic tendencies of the healthy habits.
Because it's so easy to be like, oh, I'm going to do this, and then you're no fun. Like,
And you're not happy. You're not enjoying it.
Yeah, like I remember like being in a relationship and like he's like, let's go out to dinner. I'm like, I can't. It doesn't fall in my calories. And he's like, you're miserable to be around. And I'm like, I am miserable. So we're both miserable.
Yeah, right.
And then one day I was just like, you know what? We're not doing this. And now like, obviously my 22-year-old's metabolism is a little bit different, especially as a boy than me. And like, I just know like I can go get tacos with my friends. Maybe I don't need to eat like 7 tacos.
Yeah.
But like, just knowing the balance that like 2 tacos, 3 tacos is not going to kill me, and a margarita is not going to kill me. Like, maybe just don't overdo it.
Yeah, right.
And for me, it really took. I had a little bit of a health scare, a few, like maybe 7 months ago, where like I had like this heart problem, and it was literally because I was so like restrictive with what I would eat and like how hard I was exercising. Like, I'm not very big, and so I was trying to like intake like so much protein that my body could not break down. And then I was also, like, going to the gym 2 times a day for 2 hours.
Wow.
Like, each time. So, like, 4 hours a day. And I was probably sleeping, like, maybe 4 hours.
Oh, my God.
And so then I was like, okay.
So no recovery.
I have to. Like, I was just go. And then I was like, I have to do this differently. And then it just became like, okay, self-care doesn't have to be, like, this expensive world that we live in. Like, I don't have to go get Botox to do self-care. Sometimes self-care for me is literally going to the pool and reading a book or listening to a podcast or going to the pool and just sitting with my friends, going on a walk.
I feel like we make it so
going on a
complicated.
drive,
Yeah.
doing anything little. It doesn't have to be like, let's go get lip filler and eyelash extension. Me with my eyelash extension and lip flip, but that was not self-care. That was just me.
I feel like that. I get what you're saying though. That
it doesn't
like,
have to be that. It doesn't have to be like this big thing. Like, it doesn't have to be cute either. Sometimes self-care is doing a face mask with like the kid you're dating, and it's messy and it's not like this cute little like selfies thing. It's like there's face masks everywhere, but it's fun.
Sometimes self-care is looking disgusting and sitting on your couch and not having showered in a couple days and just watching fucking Real Housewives until you're blue in the face.
Maybe not the shower, but I love to shower. I can shower like 4 times a day.
You know what I mean though, that it's like you can be like, it's not like a aesthetic thing all the time.
Sometimes self-care is just like being yourself.
Yeah, totally. How much did toxic Corrin, or a more toxic Corrin, I should say, how did she handle self-care?
Self-care was about looking my best, so I was better than everyone around me.
Interesting.
I wanted to be the best.
Yeah.
In like such a weird way. Like, I wanted to be the best person that kids ever like talked to. I want to be the best person that kids ever slept with. I want to be the best person that kids ever like seen. Like, especially because like, it was just like I want to do everything better. And there's like specific people that I was trying to be better than. So self-care was not caring for myself. It was just trying to look better. Like, even like be smarter. Like, I will 100% tell you I did not want to go to grad school.
Oh my God, really? Why did you?
I wanted to be better. I wanted to say I have a master's degree.
Yeah.
I love to tell people I have a master's
Hell
degree.
yeah.
I was applying and going, like, I literally took the LSAT because I wanted to go to law school just to tell people I was going to law school. Like, not because I wanted to, but for a while I wanted to go to law school, but then it became like I just want people to know that I'm smart.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
and
like that's a lot of pressure. Like, it's like a lot of expectation for yourself. It's like you're trying to prove something all the time.
Yeah. Basically. And I was like, why am I even doing this? No one cares if I go to grad school or don't go to grad school.
Yeah, right.
Like, no one cares what my job is. Like,
right.
I just
the people that are in your life that matter to care will care.
Yeah, like,
because you guys are like-minded maybe, but it's not like they care about what you specifically do. It's just an interesting fact about you.
Yeah. And like, I just feel like for me, especially when my really toxic college Corrin was toxic, I just want, like, I didn't want to be in a sorority. I was in it because it was like cool.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be, like, on the exec board because, like, I desired to be that. But, like, I wanted to do it because I wanted to be, like, I'm an exec.
For sure. Can we talk about how when you don't love yourself, like, you're not taking care of yourself and doing these, like, self-help things, you can't get out of these toxic situations that you're in. But when you're in the toxic situations...
it's fun.
Well, but it's, like, hard to take care of yourself. It's hard to see that.
It's also, toxic is fun. Like, I'll be the first to admit toxic is fun. So it's like you don't really want to get out of it and take care of yourself. Because it's, like, fun to go off the rails. Like, once, like, in a while. Like, it's fun to have, like, a week where you're just going to black out, drink with your friends and do stupid shit and, like, do whatever you want. And it's fun to not have to like worry about taking care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you get stuck in that.
Yeah. But I feel like when you are in these relationships, specifically like romantic relationships or even honestly friendships, and people like they're manipulating you and gaslighting you, and you're just like kind of getting beaten down to feel like you're not good enough or feel like, I don't know, you're not worth taking care of for yourself. It's hard to.
Well, that's like the entire point of a like toxic domestic abuse relationship is that they want to beat you down.
Yeah, right.
They want to have full control over you. And so it's like easy to lose yourself in those relationships, and that's why you see so many people that are in them and they're not willing to leave because it's work to leave.
So I was just gonna ask you, it's work to leave for sure.
It's work to leave, and it'll take about 7 times for someone to leave a toxic relationship before they're done.
I can picture that.
And you can ask some people, it'll take like less time. Like if we look at mine, I don't really care. My toxic relationship with my person who assaulted me, I remember like we weren't obviously actually dating because I did have a boyfriend, which is like a whole separate thing. But I remember trying to leave the toxic relationship behind, and it took me time. And like we went through I tried to leave like a few times while we were at school from it and just like say like we're done, we're cutting it off, I'm blocking you, we're done. And I couldn't leave. And then I remember we went through a whole Title IX together, and I was still trying to make something work with him. Like I was still trying to make it work, and we almost had a child from one of the assaults. So we were like really trying to make it work, and everyone's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm stuck. Like I have to make this work. It doesn't matter what he did to me. We might have a baby. Like we're figuring all that stuff out. So it's like that was like time number 4, and then I literally left. He got kicked out at Leo. I transferred, and I'm still trying to make a toxic relationship work with someone who I like. We're not even in the same state anymore.
Yeah.
And so it took me like 5 times to like actually be done.
Yeah.
Because I just couldn't. I was so beaten down, and I almost in a way wanted his approval to like be okay.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that that's necessary to take that time? Like, do you think that that's almost how you get out of those toxic relationships? Or if you have a different way, what would that be?
I think that it's going to be different for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I think that a lot of times, like, we obviously talked about how a lot of things take a village. In this case, it takes a village once you've left.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be ready to leave.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be, like, when I left the last time, I was like, and I woke up and enough was enough.
Mm-hmm.
I went to therapy. I did everything that I needed. Enough was enough, but it was when I was ready.
Yeah.
I couldn't leave those other times because I just wasn't ready.
Yes.
And no matter how much my friends were ready or my parents were ready, because obviously everyone knew what was going on, they can't make me leave until I'm ready. Just like when someone's getting like beaten.
Yes.
They can't leave until they're ready, and it's not going to be until it spills over into their life.
Mm-hmm.
Typically. Like, it's going to be, like, when they realize, like, oh, like, we have a kid, that kid's going to get hurt if I stay type of thing. But, like, you have to be ready on your own to walk away from something that's toxic. And no one can want that for, like, I guess they can want it for you, but no one can, like, it's like when you lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink.
Yes.
That's why, like, when you meet people and you have a sense that they might be in a toxic relationship, it's kind of easy to pick out signs. Like, we can go to the bar and I can, like, be like, that person, that person.
Yeah.
And tell you, but, like, that's just my, like, training on it. But you can be there for your friends and let them know you're going to be there for them. But until they're ready, you can't pull them out of that toxic relationship.
Yeah.
And you just have to be someone that, like, they can talk to.
Yeah.
Because I don't think toxic relationships are talked about in the sense where, like, they're talked about, like, oh, if he hit you, yeah, obviously leave. No one talks about, like, when they talk down to you. Mm-hmm. Or when they make little side comments about you. Or when you just simply are not, like, you might love the person so much, but you clash with each other.
And you just don't feel supported and loved and like you're supposed to feel.
And, like, it's so easy to get caught up on the, well, we once were so in love.
What's the biggest mistake between, because something I feel like I hear a lot is people talk about, oh, well, he's just growing. He's making mistakes, or we're learning to love ourselves together. What is the biggest difference between somebody who's actually made mistakes or is actually, you know, like growing, and somebody who is toxic and not good for you?
I think it's the idea that someone you can love so much and they're growing on their own and you're growing on their own, but it doesn't mean you guys should grow together. And it's the idea that kind of like sometimes loving someone that's toxic for you is letting go so they can grow up on their own and you can grow up on your own, and then hoping that you find your way to each other if it's right. And that's hard because obviously then there's the argument that people are going to be like, oh, you didn't stick by him. And there's always this like, oh, he's just a guy, like he's just figuring it out. No, it doesn't give you an excuse to be like,
You're making excuses for them.
Yeah. Like, I joke that I'm, like, very toxic, but, like, I would never be toxic to someone where it was, like, detrimental to them. I would know where my lines and boundaries are. Like, sometimes toxic's fun in a way that, like, you can poke fun at each other, but I would never, like, hit, like, but I will say I have been in those, like, obviously my most recent relationship, we were together for a really long time, and we spent a lot of college growing together. And so it just was normal for us to grow together and have those little toxic fights, but it became toxic to a point where neither of us could handle it anymore when we got older and we're in post-grad and we're trying to grow and trying to grow and trying to grow, and neither of us wanted to outshine the other one or let the other one outshine the other one.
Interesting.
So at some point the toxic relationship had to break. Like, I love and care about him still, but like together we're toxic.
Yeah, right. That's interesting. You're feeding off of each other, or you're like, what's the opposite of feeding off of each other? Repelling each other? I don't know. It's like what you're doing clashes.
Ricocheting.
It just doesn't match. It doesn't fit.
And you want it to fit so bad because it's been there for so long, but like,
and because you've worked so hard at it that you're like, why isn't it working? What am I doing wrong? What can't I do to fix this?
And so one day it's just like waking up and realizing that like the problem is we don't see eye to eye right now, and we're not going to.
Yeah.
Until we realize that it's okay for both of us to shine.
Yeah. Yeah. If there were 3 things you could choose for everyone to know when it comes to love, what would they be?
Love doesn't hurt.
Okay.
Love isn't easy, but love does not break you.
Okay.
Like, in the sense where like it's never going to be easy to love someone. It's not, life isn't easy. It's never going to be like this sunshine rainbow movie where like you meet someone and like it's like the last song and like it's just perfect. It's going to be hard work, but love does not hurt.
Okay. So then 1, what's 2?
2 would be understanding that most girls in today's society have been in a domestic abuse or sexual assault relationship, so they are learning how to love again. And they're learning how to love right. So you got to be patient. And like technically that goes for both. Like, you need to be patient when it comes to loving someone. And I guess 3 would be, you have to, like, it's so cliche, but you have to love yourself in order to love someone in a healthy way.
Yeah.
You have to be able to take care of yourself and meet your own needs before you will ever be able to healthily meet someone else's.
Okay, deal. Okay, just to finish, we're going to play a cute little game, closing game. Kind of toxic, kind of well. What or who are you jealous of?
Okay, I'm jealous of my younger self for just being, like, innocent and, like, not knowing. Like, because ignorance is literally bliss, and that is the one thing I've learned by 25 is that if I knew less, I would be better off.
When is the last time you people pleased instead of doing what you actually wanted to do?
Last night.
Why? What happened?
I have a freaking kidney infection, and I was like, yeah, I'll go out. I have a better one. A month prior to this.
Okay.
Like last Friday, like the first Friday, it's every month. So it's Cinco de Mayo. We're out. All my friends and I are having a fun time. This kid, situationship, calls me. He lives in Sarasota. That's like an hour away. And he was like, you need to come right now. And I was like, fine, I'll leave. So I had to people please him, and I had to drive an hour just to argue with him in a gas station parking lot.
No.
Kind of toxic.
When are you selfish?
Not very often. I'm not a very selfish person. I would say that's like my biggest flaw. I would say if I had to be selfish, it would be like with Finn.
Okay. What do you find yourself overthinking about?
My last relationship.
Interesting. What about it?
Why it went wrong.
Okay.
Why it's not working. would it ever work again?
What are you picky about?
Who has access to me?
Good answer. What makes you quick to get angry?
My mom.
Why?
My parents.
Why?
Everything about my parents. I don't know. They just irk me. I don't, like, they mean so well, but like I definitely clash with my parents a lot.
I'm not gonna lie, I feel like you've always had that. I feel like it's always been that way.
I'm just like so different. Like I'm just more outspoken, and like they're very like conservative, and like so I'm just more like I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, so they make you angry. Why? What's the last thing that's happened that you've been like, you've experienced that anger?
When I was going through my breakup and my parents were like trying to comfort me and I did not want comfort. Like I wanted a solution. And I remember like telling my dad, like, you need to fix this. Because like he's my dad, he's supposed to fix things, and he's like, Corrin, I can't. I cannot fix what's going on right now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, figure it out.
Figure it out, please.
Figure it out right now.
What are you afraid of?
Falling in love again.
Yeah? Why?
I feel like I have fallen in love. Like, I've definitely fallen in love, like, twice.
Okay.
And I feel like both of them really fucked me up. And so I'm just, like, terrified to love someone.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
Actually, like, be in love again.
For sure. I can see that. What do you not have empathy for?
I don't have empathy for people who, like, hate their lives because they didn't leave their hometown.
Yes! Amen! Amen, bitch.
It's just like there's no empathy there, sorry.
Yeah. You're especially like, you're not even just leaving the hometown, but not doing anything to, like, you hate your life, but you're just going to keep living
really
that
have
same
no
life.
empathy for people who come back to their hometown to teach at their hometown high school, and then they just like hate their lives.
Yes, if you love it, fine. But if you're miserable, I don't feel bad for you.
I feel like you cannot pretend like you're happy going back to your high school.
I agree. Can you imagine being trapped in the halls of Elk Grove?
I'm like specific. I'm thinking about one specific person that just really irks me.
No, we're gonna talk about that in a second. If you could give one piece of advice to someone trying to improve themselves or become more well than toxic, what would it be?
Go to therapy. Like, there are so many ways to get help. Like, therapy, like, literally once someone was being bitchy to me, and I sent them a link to that betterhelp.com.
You did?
And I said, please seek therapy.
That's actually the best comeback.
Like, please seek therapy. Like, I don't have time for you to be toxic to me because you won't, like, even with my, like, situation, like, just seek therapy. Like, every time someone, like, says something to me and it pisses me off, I'm like, just, can you, like, it's not my fault your, like, mom didn't hug you enough, so, like, just seek the therapy. Like, we're adults.
So funny. Corrin Hansen, thank you so much for being here. I've appreciated everything that you've talked about and said this whole time.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming to Tampa, Florida.
I will.